Hey guys, welcome back. So after being requested so many times, am finally filming the Kitchenaid review. So quite a few of you have asked for this. I was going to do it on Sunday, but I didn't get the chance, so it's now going up today. So I'm going to go through the mixer that I've got. I've just got the details on my phone of where I got it from and pricing and everything. So I'm going to go through that first, and then we're going to start the actual review. So we're making 3 different things. We're making meringues, cupcakes and cookie batter. It's like sugar cookie batter, and it just shows you the speed that it goes at, so we'll go through that with the meringues. And then with the cupcakes, it just shows you how well it combines all the ingredients, because that's a recipe where you put everything in the bowl at the same time, you don't mix them all separately. And then the cookie dough shows you how well it works with dough. We're not going to be using the dough hook just because I don't want to be making any bread, but I will be able to tell you a bit more about it. So the machine that I got, I'll put it on the screen here, is the Kitchenaid Artisan, and it is the stand mixer, and I got it in milkshake, so it's kind of like a off-white grey, and mine was £499, and I got mine from Curry's PC World. So I actually got a bit of a deal because the place that I used to work at used to get 10% off. So I got £49 off, but usually it is almost £500. And it's a 300 watt mixer, and it's all metal, so it can be lower wattage. If you're getting, so you might notice with some of the plastic ones that you get on Amazon, the reason they're like 2000 watts or 1000 watts is because they're made out of plastic, so it takes a lot more to actually make it work because all the inside components are made out of plastic, whereas all of this is metal. That's why it's a bit heavier, because everything is metal. So yeah, it's 300 watts, it's got 10 different speeds, which I'll show you. It doesn't go as slow as some other machines, but luckily I don't need it to go very slow. All of my brownie mixes I do by hand because I like to do it with a spatula, because then I find that it doesn't add too much air into the mix. And the bowl size is 4.8 litres, which I think is the same. It's 4.7 quarts, I think it is. So this is the bowl that I've got. It's just a stainless steel bowl. You can get glass bowls, but we'll talk about that a bit more when we're mixing. Glass bowls are basically very heavy, and if you're wanting to get your mix out of here with one hand and then pour it into another bowl, it's going to be very heavy for you to use. And they're also louder, they make a lot more noise. You don't want to be dropping a glass bowl, because as soon as you drop it on the kitchen floor, this one would just bounce back, but you drop a glass bowl and it's completely smashed. And I think they're about £60 from KitchenAid, so it's quite expensive if you drop one and then you need to buy a new one. So they do a mini KitchenAid, which I think the bowl size is 3.5 quarts, which it makes a surprising difference. From what I've heard, you can't fit a full batter mix, so whether that's cupcakes, a cake, I can fit 4 layers of cake mix in here at one time and it doesn't struggle, whereas if you try to do that in the mini, it would definitely struggle. So yes, those are all the details about it. I'm just going to show you the attachments that you get with it. I actually have an extra one. So these are the 3 basic attachments. So you've got your whisk, which is perfect for meringues. I sometimes use it for like cupcake mix. It just depends, it's really up to you. I sometimes use it for cupcake mix if I'm making like vegan cupcakes, because the mix is a lot waterier. So I find that you can't use the beater because it doesn't get all the lumps out, because it's so watery because of all the oils and stuff. So I find that this is quite good for that. So that is the whisk. Then we have the beater, which is the one that you'll probably use most if you're making cakes. So this is just a standard beater and it's got no edges on it. And then I have, which I swear by, I use it every single time I bake, I honestly don't use this anymore, is this one, and it's got the half silicone edge. I actually found out about this from Cupcake Gemma, and yeah, it's amazing. So this gets really close to the edge of the bowl, and you can also unhook it and scrape the bowl if you want to, but I just find even if I don't scrape the bowl with it, it just gets so much closer to the edge and picks up all the batter, whereas this one can sometimes leave a slight bit behind, but it definitely isn't as bad as some other machines. So yeah, these are the two side by side. This one, as you can see, it's only got two sort of gaps, and then this one's got three, which does help when you're scraping it, because this one you have to try and get in all these little nooks. And this one is, I think it's £34 on Kitchenaid. I'll put it down below, or I'll put a photo on the screen, but it was roughly 35, and I managed to get it for £17.50. So I got it on John Lewis, and I got it for my birthday, so someone bought it for me. But I managed to find it half price, and it is the official KitchenAid. It came in the right box and everything. But yeah, it was such a deal. So I'll try and find the link for that. That was back in August, so it might be a bit more expensive now, but it was definitely a good deal to get that half price. Then, so I forgot to say, this you would use for cakes, cookies. You wouldn't use like the dough hook for cookies. I wouldn't recommend it anyway. I find that the beater is perfectly fine. You could use this for brownies, pretty much any mix. I think it's quite good for just all round. And then you have the bread hook. So this is what it looks like. I did try and use this for cookie mix just out of curiosity. It worked fine, but I just find that I don't use it very much. But I mean, when I eventually try out and make some bread, then I might use it. So those are the three standard attachments, and then this one is the extra. So I'm going to turn you towards the machine so I can show you the overall machine before we get into the actual mixing. So this is the KitchenAid. The bowl, you just turn anti-clockwise, and then it slots back in. So as you'll see at the bottom here, there are little ridges there which then hook into the metal component down here. I did hear someone mention in their review about a plastic machine that because this is metal, it's unlikely to break, whereas if one of these notches that the bowl hooks into breaks off on a plastic one, you'd have to get a whole new machine, whereas this you could probably buy the metal part because it just screws in. So it's definitely handy it being metal. So then you slot it in there, turn it clockwise, and then it's not going anywhere. It stays in place perfectly fine. And then all of your attachments have this little alcove here where it's cut out, and then it looks like that. So the way you hook it on is you push it up like that, turn it again anti-clockwise, and then it's hooked on perfectly. So then to take it off, you just push it up like this, turn it clockwise, and it comes right off like that. So it's really easy, and it's the same with all of them. So you just match the little notches, pull it down, and then again it's very sturdy like the bowl, so it won't be coming off. So we're gonna put the whisk on because that's the one we're using first. So put this back on, and again all of these attachments, these are all metal, so as you can hear, and then this is a silicone edge, so it means that they're unlikely to break. Some attachments can be plastic, and when you're using them every day, it's just going to break off. So to actually put the machine down, there's this hook here. I have seen on some machines that it stays in place when you push it back. Mine doesn't. I'm not sure if that's the fault, but I haven't sort of known any better. So you push it back, and then the machine goes down. It is quite heavy, and some people say that they'd prefer if the latch was at the back, because then you could unhook it like so, and you don't have to hold it at the front. You can hold it at the back and sort of do it one-handed, but you do have to have two hands to do this. So then at the front here, we've got this little unscrew there, and you have this KitchenAid metal piece which goes in this hole. So this hole you can put pasta makers, you can have food cutters, and the piece just slides in there, and then the actual component will be on top of the machine up here. So it's quite handy that it can be an all-in-one. I definitely want to get a few more attachments when I eventually move out, because I think it will be nice to have all one machine rather than lots of different, you know, like mixers and blenders, everything like that. It's just nice to have it all in one place. So I'm going to zoom you back out, and I'm going to try and turn the machine. I've got all my mixes ready. So we're just going to turn it so you can see the speeds. It's quite heavy. You can lift it up with two hands, it's very easy, but for some they might find it more difficult. It hasn't got any suctions on the bottom because it is heavy enough to hold itself down. Again, you don't necessarily want suctions on the bottom because you might not be able to get it off the worktop. So on this side, again, I'll turn it a little further and then I'll zoom you in. As you can see along here, we have details about the actual machine. So it says Kitchenaid and it was made in the US. And then we've got Artisan, which is the made. There is a classic, which is cheaper. I've heard that the Artisan is better in terms of the way it works. So that's why I went for the Artisan. And I think the classic bowl might be slightly smaller, but I may be wrong. And then these are the different speeds. So I'm just going to turn it off first. But you just move it along. And then you've got 10 speeds, so it goes 1, 2, and then it goes up in 2s, so it goes 4, 6, 8, 10. I've never used 10, I think the max I've used is 8, but we might use 10 for meringues today. And it's quite stiff. I guess it's so that you're not putting it on the wrong speed, which is helpful. Some people say that it's a bit too stiff, it should be easier to move along, but I think that it's fine. It stops you from putting your mix on something that's too high and then having to accidentally try and sort of correct that and push it back. So we're going to turn it back round so that we've got it here. So we are going to start with the egg whites. I've got them here. So we're just going to mix those up, and I'm going to switch to my phone so that you'll be able to see in the bowl. So I've got 2 egg whites here, and we're just going to mix them on a low speed first, and then we're going to go higher and higher until they become meringues and light and fluffy. So, I forgot to mention earlier, but this is the pouring shield that I got. So this is the Kitchenaid official one, as you can see here. So I got this off Amazon. I think it was about $17.99. I'll try and find the listing. It's official Kitchenaid again, and it is really helpful, mostly for buttercream when you're trying to stop icing clouds of icing sugar, but it's also helpful for actual pouring. So I'm going to be using it to show you how we pour the eggs into the bowl. So it just hooks on, and it's got little latches around the side here. I don't know if you can see that, but it's just a little hook which hooks onto the edge of the bowl. I would say that they could make it a bit better in terms of how well it stays. So it does move a little bit, which can sometimes be a pain, but it is definitely a big help. So we've got the pouring element here. So I'm going to switch to my phone so we can show you from close up. So we're just going to take that and pour it through the pouring shield, get all the little last bits out of there, and then we're going to start with, so we've turned it on, and we're going to start with 1. So we can actually take the shield off now. So this is 1. Going up to 2. 3. 8. And then 10. So we now have fluffy peaks. I'll show you in the camera. So this is what it looks like. So we're going to be adding sugar to this, caster sugar, and then that will be able to make the meringues. So this is how it's turned out with the whisk. So as you can see on there, it's very fluffy. So we went up to speed 10 with that, and it works perfectly for meringues. So that is not coming off of that whisk, which shows how stiff it's made them, which is good. So we've got 2 egg whites in there, so I'm going to be adding 60 grams of caster sugar. So I'm just going to weigh that out, and then we're going to be adding that in. So I've got my caster sugar here, so we're going to be adding this in. So the whisk, like before, it just slots back on, and then you turn, and it's hooked on there. So this goes on a low speed, and we're going to be folding this in. So we're going to be doing this in small amounts. I'm going to pour a little bit in and let it actually mix before we add all of it in. So add a little bit and let that combine. Add a little bit more. And we can go up a little bit higher now. So I'm just going to take my spatula . So they are done, as you can see from that little whip on the top of the meringue. So now we're going to pour this into another bowl and put that aside for later. So like I was saying earlier, just thought I'd pop back in and say this. So we've got our meringue there, and because this bowl is so light, because it's stainless steel, you can literally hold this with one hand and get the meringues out of there very easily. I'm going to be adding some red colouring to these because I'm going to use them as Santa hats. There we go. So we've got our meringues all done. So it's perfect for meringues. I definitely recommend it for those. I've never made them and it worked perfectly fine the first time. So they'll be going in the oven in a little while, but I won't be showing you that. So now we're going to be going on to our cupcakes. So for the cupcakes, we're going to be putting our clean stainless steel bowl back in its holder. So for the cupcakes, all of the mixture is already put together. This is how you would put it straight into the bowl, but obviously I was using it before, so I've put it in a makeshift bowl for the moment. But you mix it all together at the same time, so we're going to be testing how well it mixes, considering you're not doing it in stages. So you're just throwing all the ingredients in there and hoping that they combine well. So we're going to be using this beater. I'll be showing you this one with the cookies, and I might show you it with the dough hook just to give you a bit of an insight, but I usually use the beaters for it. So I'm going to be using this one because it's got the silicone edge, so we're just going to hook that on there. So we've got our mix here, our beater is on there, so I'm going to be pouring this in. So I've got a spatula here, and I'm just going to be scraping that all in there. Just get any last bits. Obviously usually I wouldn't have it sat in the bowl, sort of joining together. So you just scrape all the edges. So I always do this on the lowest speed, just out of habit. I sometimes put it up to the next one up, so it will either be 1 or 2. I never go any higher than that for cupcakes. So we're going to start mixing. So we need to add a tablespoon of milk to this, and then it will be a little runnier. But as you can see, it's all combined very well, and it is scraping the edges. So if you can see there, that is where the silicone edge is scraping the edges of the pan, so it shows you that it's going to reach. So as you can see, it's combined all the ingredients. I added some extra milk in there, which as you can see has made it a little more watery, which is what we like. But from the edges, if you didn't hear me before, that's where the silicone edge is able to get close enough to the edge of the bowl, which is really good, which is why I like it so much. So now that that's all mixed, we're going to be taking our cupcake mix, which as you can see, it scraped the sides, and we're going to be putting this in some cupcake cases, and then they're going to go in the oven. So I have put my vanilla cupcake mix into the cupcake cases, so that will be going in the oven soon. So now that those are all done, we're going to be moving on to the cookie dough. So this is sugar cookie dough, so it's not like chocolate chip cookies, so it's a different type of dough. So it will turn out slightly different because it's meant to be a bit drier. So we're just using our standard beater, so I will point you a little bit further down so you can see, but we're just using the standard beater, and then I will switch over, once it's started to make more of a dough and combined, I will switch over to the bread hook just to show you what it actually does, but I wouldn't normally use it for a cookie mix. So we're going to start by creaming the butter and sugar, then we're going to be adding an egg and vanilla extract, which I have here. Then we're going to add the flour, the bicarb, and the salt. It's either bicarb or baking soda, can't remember, but I've already got it in the bowl here. So yeah, we're going to be adding that. So I'm going to start by putting the butter in there. I need another spatula. Just get one from up here and put that in there. So we're just going to cream these two together. I forgot to mention earlier, but most people say that the Kitchenaids, and I find the same thing, they're not too loud for it to be sort of annoying, and they also don't struggle with mixes, whereas some cheaper ones you will find struggle, which then in turn makes them louder because they will be sort of whining when they're mixing, whereas I find that this is nice and kind of, it's a normal sound, and you're never mixing for too long, so it's never too bad. But yeah, I haven't found that it's too noisy. I find that hand mixers are way noisier. From when I had a hand mixer, you wouldn't be able to hear yourself think, whereas this, at least you can kind of talk over it a little bit if you need to. So we're going to start by blending this together. Again, I'm going to move over to my phone so I can show you how the cookie dough sort of forms. So that's all creamed together. So we've creamed together our butter and sugar. Now we're going to put the pouring shield on so I can show you how you pour in your eggs and your vanilla extract. So we're just going to clip that back on. Again, like I said, it can be a bit temperamental. You kind of have to make sure it's on because sometimes the hooks don't clip on right. So I'm just going to turn you so that you can see a bit better. So as you can see, the pouring shield is here, so we're going to pour our vanilla extract in. So you just pour that in like so, and then we're going to turn it on low. Then I'm just cracking an egg. And we're going to pour our egg in there as well. So we can now take this off. And then we're going to turn it up a little higher. So I always find at this point, especially when you're using this standard beater, if I was doing this I'd probably use my one with the silicone edge, but just so it's as near to what you guys would have as possible, I'm using this one. So I'm going to take a spatula just so I can mix the underneath, just because I find it needs a little bit of help. So just get anything off of the sides. And then we're going to put it back down. So now that that's sort of mixed in, we're going to start with our flour. So I'm just going to take spoonfuls of it and slowly put it in. So there you go. So a dough has formed there. So I'm just going to lift this up so that you can see that that is now, that is dough there. So same as the others, it's got the little notch in there, so you just slot it on. It seems a little bit stiffer, there we go. So like the others, that's on. So as you can see, you can tell that it's mixing, but it isn't for this kind of dough. I think for cookie dough it might work. I think I've used it for chocolate chip cookies, but for sugar cookies it's a little bit wetter, the dough, so I find that it doesn't work as well. But just so that you could see, it does mix, but it doesn't catch the sides, which this needs to do. So I'm going to take this out now. So as you can tell, it's made a nice thick dough, so it's definitely combined all the ingredients correctly. So like all the other things, these will all be going in the oven shortly, but I'm not going to be showing you that because it isn't part of the video. So I'm hoping that that helped you figure out whether you like this machine or not, so you can tell that the quality is good and it mixes well, it does the job that it's meant to be doing, and you can see from all the different attachments that it works well for different things. I would definitely recommend the beater with the silicone edge. I just find it so much easier. I use it for literally everything. I have considered getting a second one just so that when one's dirty you can switch over and you don't have to wash it every single time, because sometimes if I'm using it for icing sugar, which again it is really good for, if I'm making multiple batches of icing sugar, I don't want to wash it every time because I could just use it again, because even though it's dirty, it's got the same ingredients on. You wouldn't use like cake mix obviously, but if it's already got icing sugar on it, then I can use it again. But yeah, I am considering getting another one, but I'm gonna see. But that is the Kitchenaid Artisan machine. If you have any questions, please let me know down below, because I've been using it for, I mean, it's October now, I bought it in June, so it's almost 5 months because we've just gone into November, and I absolutely love it. Obviously some people might be wanting a cheaper option, and I mentioned this in one of my other videos and I have put them in the description, but I'll do it again for this video. But there are a couple on Argos which have really good reviews if you do need something cheaper. but I would definitely recommend thinking about it, because if you're going to buy something for £200, you might as well put £200 towards your KitchenAid. I just find that I personally didn't want to buy something cheaper and then have to fork out the money again, because I knew that I wanted a KitchenAid. But yes, if you have any questions, let me know, and I hope this was useful, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!